Hey class, it's Rusty again. I'm going to have to talk to you very quickly about regulations and standards. I want you to understand, and this is the highlight of the whole chapter. Regulations are required. Standards are best practices that should be followed, and in some cases, they're still going to be required because the authority having jurisdiction has accepted them. We are in a OSHA-approved state, which means basically we have taken the federal requirements and brought them down to the state level, and we have actually adopted them on top of ourselves. This was done so that we had control of our situation, so that OSHA was not always in our states. When you hear of an OSHA investigator, they're a state employee, okay? It also means, though, in other states where they're not coming in and telling us what to do, they can't come in and tell us. And there are a lot of little laws here that you need to understand. And I want to make sure that you have a full understanding of what's actually going on. So remember, regulation, you can go to jail for it. You can lose all kinds of stuff for it. A standard, it's going to be best practices unless it's been adopted. Doesn't mean that you're not going to have to sit in court and listen to what happened. And a lot of times, if you actually prepared yourself, you can actually use that standard to defend yourself. And that's something we need to know. There's also a concept in here I want to talk about called standard of care. Really quickly, in EMT, you're taught that you have to respond to what somebody with your level of training can do with the equipment that you're provided. Same concept. But the thing is, it's not static. So I got my EMT 2004. I'm still an EMT today. Do I practice the way I did in 2004? No, I don't. I do it the way we have been doing Con Ed since, I practice the way an EMT that graduated today would. Same concept with firefighter requirements. I'm not going to act like a firefighter from 2004. I'm going to act like a firefighter in 2022. I'm going to use these skills and abilities and equipment to do the best I can with my job. That's where we get in trouble. Now, somebody will say, that means we got to buy the latest and greatest for us here. We're going to be on the wrong side of this. That's not what it's saying. If you don't have the equipment, you can't do the job. Okay? You're going to have to do it the way you always have. If you don't have a certain piece of equipment, we overcome. But it's saying that we need to be working that way. Does that make sense? Now, there are some special situations that OSHA gets into. Confined space, because people have limited ability in there. There's issues with probably being able to breathe. And you know what? The reality is they need to call us out. When an industry goes into it, or your municipal employees go into a confined space, which has limited entry and exit points, they should go ahead and notify us and have a team ready to go out. That's just best practice. And that's kind of what they're always told. They're told to have a written plan and notify the authority having jurisdiction. In this case, almost all rescues fall on the fire departments. Okay, respiratory protection. OSHA's big into that. What do I need to know about this, Rusty? You have to provide respiratory protection for your employees. Ta-da! Was that very hard? Whether it's SCBA or if it's a N95, if they're going into an area which may have tuberculosis. I'm not going to mention that C word, but it scares me too much. Hazardous waste operations. All you need to know about that, and we're going to really make this simple. We respond within our scope of practice, right? Within what we know. If I'm a hazmat tech, I have a lot more tools in my toolbox. If I'm just a operations guy, all I can do is what operations guys can do. I can report and do a couple of simple things. No big concept, no big problems there. The industry, on the other hand, has to make sure they have a written plan. The fire department has to have a written plan. An SOP or an SOG is better to have at these major incidents. Okay. Bloodborne pathogens. Boy, this gets very complex. Any employee that can be exposed to any infectious disease, you keep the record for 30 years. It's that simple. You're required to provide, again, personal protective equipment, keeping the ooey and gooey off of. That's it. If they get exposed, you put them in the exposure log. Okay, that's all you have to do. Now, if they are exposed and they need the antiviral drugs and all that stuff, City Hall's going to be involved. They're going to provide it. Now, I told you in an earlier video, we had to do that for a group of our guys. Okay. OSHA has no direct authority over state and local governments. I've told you that already. But guess what? We accepted to say we're going to do our own plan, so we're willing to look at ourselves. Okay. Rolling through here. There is a standard again for fire brigades. Let's talk about some NFPA standards really quickly. NFPA 1500 plays a major role in a lot of areas. It has all the essential parts of our health and safety plan. If you say a 1.5, it's going to be health. Okay. If you say 15, anything, it's going to be related to health. Okay. This is also considered a standard of care. So be very careful. Most departments use it as justification for equipment they need. Okay. The standard for fire department safety officers 1521. It gives the assigned duties and responsibilities for the fire department or fire service organization health and safety officer and incident safety officer. And it also provides all the assistance it could need. Fire department has an infectious control program. That's going to be 1581. As for emergency and non-emergency situations. And they're going to follow the best outlines we can get in regulations from the CDC, the Center for Disease Control. Okay. Occupational medical programs for fire departments is 1582. This is to cover medical requirements for personnel, making sure that you pass your physical every year you're supposed to have. With the doctor signs off, I can still fight fire. That's all they're looking for. Okay. And it's supposed to be given to all new people and all old people. There's no exemption. Okay. Standard for healthy related fitness programs for fire department members is 1583. Believe it or not, that's how we get a lot of our gym equipment we have. Okay. They have a rehab policy, which is 1584. We have two standards of organization and deployment of fire suppression operations, depending on if you're a career or if you're a volunteer. Doesn't really matter so much. I hate to tell you, the reality is the situation doesn't care whether or not you get a paycheck. There's other organizations in here that give some standards. Now, here's one you might want to think of. Environmental Protection Agency. Think of it as a regulation. They're going to. It says, here's the catch-22 I want you to think about. A public emergency service organization in a non-OSHA state that responds to or has the potential to respond to hazardous substance release must comply with OSHA requirements. So either way, we have to comply with OSHA requirements. NIOSH, okay? Their big thing is that their primary mission is to reduce work-related injuries and illness. The Ryan White Comprehensive Age Resource Emergency Act of 1990. It just sets forth that all employers have to have an infection control officer. Okay, usually City Hall takes care of the fire department's not involved in this one, but they're the one that starts making sure that all the stuff comes through if someone gets exposed, okay? And you can always talk about the firefighter autopsy protocol. The reality is this. They're studying what actually happened to the firefighter so that we don't repeat our mistakes. That's kind of all you needed to know. So if we want to come in here, all our safety standards are 1500, right? We have 4 basic areas OSHA likes to talk about. Those are bloodborne pathogens, HAZWOPER, respiratory, and you got it. What's that last one? Very important to remember. Very important last one. Very important last one is, oh my goodness, my mind went blank. It's okay. We'll get up here and do it real quick. Very important one that they want to talk about is, of course, confined space. Even I get it backwards sometimes. That's why I want to kind of make sure we had a good discussion. I want you to take your time, make sure you understand this, go through this material once or twice. You have a very simple quiz this week. And any questions you have, always reach out to me. Y'all be safe, and I'll talk to you soon.